Ray Bradbury was born on August 22, 1920 in Waukegan, Illinois, and died on June 5, 2012 in Los Angeles, California. He was raised in Los Angeles by his parents Leonard and Esther, who were not writers. He became a writer at age 12 and decided then to give his life to writing. He moved to LA as a teen, and after high school he didn't have the money to go to college, so he spent his days at the local library and would go there 3 times a week for 10 straight years. To support himself, he sold newspapers, and in 1938 published 4 issues of a fan magazine to himself called Futuria Fantasia. In November of 1941, Bradbury published his first book called Pendulum. Later, in 1947, he published his first collection of short stories called Dark Carnival. Also in 1947, he married Maggie McClure, who worked at a bookstore where some of his books sold, and they together had 4 daughters. In 1950, he wrote his first successful novel called The Martian Chronicles. In 1953, he published his personal best-selling novel called Fahrenheit 451. He was also involved in screenplay, like in 1956 when he wrote his take on Moby Dick, and also had his own HBO series. In all, Bradbury wrote a total of 30 novels and 600 short stories in his long writing career. Bradbury was a very successful man and left a legacy behind forever. He was awarded the Medal of Honor in 2004 by President Bush, and also received his own star on Hollywood Boulevard. He was also given the Medal of Contribution from the National Book Foundation. Bradbury achieved and influenced so many and ultimately achieved his childhood goal, which was living forever through his work. One of his works mentioned earlier that made him famous was The Martian Chronicles. The book was futuristic for its time, but was still very successful. Bradbury's influence for writing the book was actually his childhood, where he felt alienated and alone. That stemmed from the fact that he didn't have many friends and spent his free time reading and writing in private. Bradbury has also stated he was influenced by other authors and their works, including Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio, and John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Some of Bradbury's famous quotes include, "We are cups constantly and quietly being filled. The trick is knowing how to tip ourselves over and let the beautiful stuff out. If you dream the proper dream and share the myths with people, they will want to grow up to be like you. Stuff your eyes with wonder. Live as if you drop dead in 10 seconds. See the world. It's more fantastic than any dream made or paid for in factories."
Working with Ray is sort of like working in the washing machine of the future. He keeps you stimulated by a kind of a here-ness, a now-ness, which you don't usually find with writers. Writers tend to either work in the past or what they believe to be the future. But I don't think Ray's ever written anything which has anything to do with the future. I mean, he makes the future now by the way he writes and by his awareness of sort of vitality. And it rubs off on people that work with him. That's why it's fun to work with him.
In the instant of getting an idea, I go act it out on paper. I don't put it away. I don't delay. I don't put off to tomorrow doing what I must do right now to find out what my secret self needs, wants, desires with all its heart. And then it speaks, and I have enough brains to get out of the way and listen. And 2 hours later, sitting at the typewriter, you look at the paper and you say, so that's what I think about the death of Hemingway. Is that how much I was hurt? So that we act out these tensions continually. We keep cleansing the stream, just as any impurity running downhill in a river, by the time it travels 9 miles, is purified. So the life of a man traveling to the sea, which is our inevitable death someday, purifies itself. It must. Because if you do not purify, these tensions remain in and turn in on yourself and destroy you. The man who cannot laugh freely is a sick man. The man who cannot cry and release his tears in that direction is a sick man. The man who cannot be violent through exercise, through sports, through acting out his violence in paper or painting or acting on a stage is a sick man. I've made the point on many occasions that the only thing you're ever going to own in your life is your work. I own my books. The farmer who farms creatively and happily is a man that knows every stalk of wheat or corn that comes up on his land, because he has tilled these fields, because he has planted the seed, because he has picked the fruit, because he has painted the barn. It doesn't sound like much, does it? But when you actually paint a house, I painted a house, a whole house once. I'd never done anything like it. It was hellish work. I hated every moment. But when I was over and stood back, it looked beautiful, and I was rather proud of myself. The house belonged to me suddenly. So we belong only by doing, and we own only by doing, and we love only by doing and knowing. And if you want an interpretation of life and love, that would be the closest thing I could come to.